Welcome to Connect with County Leaders. Here's your host, Bryan Hill.
Hello and welcome to Connect with County Leaders. I'm Bryan Hill. On this edition of the podcast, I'm joined with Joe Meyer, Executive Director, CEO of Shelter House. Joe, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, Bryan.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Many people don't know our relationship, and we do have one outside of the office. Sure. So you're a recent graduate of Slippery Rock, correct?
Very recent. Recent.
I didn't want to put you out there like that. And you played football there.
I did.
So there's a lot of athletics in your family. I met your three boys, great kids at the George Mason game.
Yes.
But you've been at this job since 2005. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting some age and distance on you right now. Tell me the highlights of your career and the things that you look forward to moving forward with.
Yeah, a lot of people ask why I do what I do and how I lasted this long. One, in human services, but two, with the organization that I'm with. And I really go back to how I was raised by a two-parent intact family with three brothers, very middle class, didn't have any more than we needed. And it was in high school that I really started seeing that I had some natural ability and also some privilege in my life that I could impact other people. And that's why I got into human services straight from the beginning. And I moved down here from Western Pennsylvania and got my first job at a homeless shelter. I knew nothing about homelessness. I knew nothing about domestic violence, but I needed a job.
Understood.
And that first job, I learned probably more in that 3 months that I did in 4.5 years of school. Moved to Shelter House in 2005, and we were a tiny organization. We had 17 employees when I started.
Wow.
Shelter House.
Yeah.
And we're up to about 180 now. And it's just, being able to help and influence the community is why I do what I do. But it's also because of the people I work with. I mean, it's people like yourself, other county leadership, but the people at Shelter House, from the board of directors to the people that I work with, my colleagues, have been absolutely extraordinary to work with. And when you have a culture, you talk about being an athlete, the culture is the number one thing for a successful team. And I've taken that to Shelter House and that mentality and the culture that we've been able to have at Shelter House for the last almost 20 years has really, that's what's kept me there.
So when you say there's 180 employees, when you look at what it was prior to COVID versus what it is after COVID, where do you see the shift happening? What do you think is next? Because, there was times you and I were talking during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And there were conversations that you and I were having that we didn't want to have with each other because it wasn't Joe and Bryan. Mm-hmm. It was like, hey man, we got some things going on here we need to figure out. Yeah. So when you look at it pre and post, what do you think where do you think we're headed?
I mean, our jobs were always hard.
Yeah.
Always. And then COVID hit and our jobs got significantly harder. And now, yes, from the clientele that we serve, it's hard, but actually just doing business through COVID, and this isn't just in human services, not just in government. It's in healthcare. It's everything. Our jobs got significantly harder with everything that we do to try to retain talent, to try to recruit talent, to try to make sure inflation costs and making sure that we're paying people, making sure that our infrastructure is where it is. Like everything about business got harder. Where we're heading now, we're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to get our culture back. We're trying to make sure that we can retain our good talent. We're trying to get our salaries up. We're trying to make sure that we're competitive with health benefits. We're trying to make sure that, from a client service standpoint, it's a different population that we're serving now too. And the need is greater right now. During COVID with domestic violence, we saw actually a decline in people that we were serving during COVID. And we speculate that was because so many people were trapped in their house they couldn't get out. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now people can. And we are seeing where pre-COVID, we reduced homelessness in Fairfax County by 50%. That's not the case anymore.
Right.
We're back up to where we were 5 years before COVID. So, everything has just gotten just harder to keep up. But I'm also very optimistic, and especially in Fairfax County. We do work in other jurisdictions, but in Fairfax County, it is one jurisdiction, one community that actually understands the business of nonprofits. I've talked to you about this before. I've talked to Chris Leonard about it. You all understand the business of nonprofit. A lot of people talk about charity, and they don't understand that it is a business we're running.
Yes, sir.
It's a business to help the community.
Yes, sir.
But we are faced with all of the same things that a for-profit agency company deals with.
We do talk a lot. People probably would never grasp how often we do speak to each other. And you mentioned the unhoused, and when I look at our One Fairfax policies and our strategic planning as our guiding principles, you are the epitome of helping us put out what we are moving forward with the Board of Supervisors being able to adopt the One Fairfax policy, the Board of Supervisors adopting the strategic plan. As we keep building, because like you just said, the clientele is different. What I'm gonna try and ask this question in a way where our folks on this podcast can understand that you're playing with a different card, with different cards now. Moving forward, our priorities need to change. And where do you think that Shelter House's priorities are changing, and that you can inlay the essence of where you think we're headed, so we can help as a county?
Yeah. Right now, it's all about housing the unhoused. And I'm not saying sheltering the unhoused.
Yeah.
It's housing the unhoused. We need to start thinking outside of the box. We as nonprofit agencies or organizations and county community, the answer isn't building more shelters because numbers going up. We need a more affordable housing, but we also have to understand what affordable housing is to the population that is unhoused. We do a great job in the county with affordable housing for teachers and for public safety. When I'm talking about affordable housing, I'm talking more about housing for all. It's for people that have serious mental illness that aren't going to be able to afford fair market rent or even low income rent.
Yeah.
It's people who have been through the system over and over and over again that need permanent supports. Permanent supportive housing is one thing that is extremely expensive because it is housing with very low rent to the participant with services attached.
Right.
But it is the only way we're going to be able to keep them out of jail.
Right.
It's the only way we're going to be able to keep them out of the emergency rooms. It's the only way we're going to be able to keep them out of shelters. And all of those things are a burden on taxpayers.
Yeah.
Paying for those beds in those facilities. And it's much cheaper that if we can provide that housing to individuals. And again, it's thinking out of the box. It's not the traditional housing that we've thought of all this time. If we truly want to end homelessness, it's thinking outside of the box.
It's so fascinating that you are speaking about housing, right? So, I spoke with our president of the EDA, Victor Hoskins, about affordable market rate housing, which is very different than what you are saying for the housing for the unsheltered or the unhoused. There are so many different types of housing that we need to deal with. We have Tom Fleet, we're doing affordable housing. Well, with that affordable housing, there are like 5, 6, maybe 7 branches, of which one is the unsheltered with the services needed to help. I do remember during the budget, you always asked me for a little bit extra dollar amounts associated with your nonprofit because things are more expensive. You have a compression with staff. When you look down the road and you're changing your model, what are the things that we need to change? I understand we said unsheltered and housing, but there's some other things because we didn't really start talking about mental health yet.
Yeah.
So when you really look at what you have today with your from 17 employees in 2005 to 170 today, obviously it's going to be 185 and 200 pretty soon because the issues that we're facing are not the same issues that we faced in 2005.
Yeah, one, I mean, you mentioned mental health, right? I think that one of the major contributing factors to a lot of the issues that we have in our community, a lot of the social issues stem around mental health.
Yeah.
And it's making sure that we do have enough county support within county services, within the CSB, to make sure that we can get our people into be seen when they become homeless or when they finally escape, in a domestic violence situation. That is the number one thing that I think we need from a client service standpoint, is making sure that we have that support. Also, from an employee standpoint, these jobs that people have, I equate them to a trauma nurse. When people are coming in to our domestic violence shelters and they are seeing the things that they are seeing, that's traumatizing.
Yeah.
The secondary trauma that people are feeling, a lot of the people, or I would say some of the people that we employ also, have life experience, either in homelessness, poverty, or domestic violence. And those things are triggering. They're here for the work because they're very passionate about it. And they want to be advocates and they want to help people that have been through these situations. But it is re-traumatizing when you see somebody that comes in that is beaten and bruised and is finally able to escape. It's also very traumatizing when we don't have enough services or we don't have enough housing and those individuals are going back to the situation that they came from.
So do you see that happening a lot?
Within our domestic violence shelters, we have about a 50% return rate to their abuser. Now, again, abuse is many different levels. Right. There's extreme physical abuse, and then there's also mental abuse. There's financial abuse and things like that. So, and people go back for many reasons.
Yeah,
many reasons.
When you talk about trauma, I mean, how do you recruit and retain the employees? I mean, you have such an important work to do. You talk about trauma, you talk about all the things that people see. Yeah. How do you retain and recruit?
We put a huge emphasis at Shelter House on making sure that people are trained, making sure people are aware, and making sure people are taken care of. Okay. I talked about culture earlier, and we have a culture at Shelter House that is very caring. We have a very generous leave policy, which I encourage every human service organization to have, making sure that people have the right time off that they need when they need it, right. Not when we tell them they have to need it. But it is about building the culture. It's also understanding and recognizing the signs of burnout and trauma. So, making sure that our directors and our managers are trained that when something comes in or when somebody comes in, that we have the right person working with them. Okay. We have a very family-oriented culture at Shelter House where we want to get to know our employees. We want to get to know why they're coming to work for us, what is driving them to come here. That is the number one thing when we're doing interviews. It's not all about the resume, but why are you coming to work here? It has to be a good fit for you and it has to be a good fit for us. So yes, I mean we have turnover just like everybody else, but I feel like here at Shelter House we do a fairly good job of making sure that we do retain our talent, especially at the highest levels and the management levels. Again, just to make sure that we're taking care of the people that are taking care of the people in the community.
Well, it's interesting the way you phrase that. Obviously, that sustainability is key to an organization like Shelter House, and that's what we've been talking about. But again, you're going to go for continued growth. You're obviously achieving the success we need in Fairfax County. Are there any other things that you want to reference about the growth or the sustainability? We work hand in hand. Chris Leonard, myself, you, we talk a lot. But our crowning achievement is for Shelter House to be successful, because if you are, there's so many of these things that we spoke about today allows people to be in a better place. And the better place is One Fairfax with the access and equity attributed to what you do. So we want to say thank you to that. But are there any other things that we should be looking forward? And this is your opportunity to tell me, hey, Bryan, if you do this, and this, it's going to make it better for me.
Yep. Well, we do talk, as you mentioned, but it's a good opportunity for me to tell you so other people can hear also.
Well, I promise you
No,
one thing. I won't edit it out.
Yeah, absolutely. and I love the question. I love the question. You talk about sustainability.
Yeah.
Our next phase of our strategic plan is all about sustaining the organization that we have right now. We have had significant growth over the last 5 to 6 years. We've even grown outside of the county where, we have learned a ton here in Fairfax County of how we can do things right. And there are other jurisdictions calling us now saying, will you come and run this shelter for us? And that's what happened in another jurisdiction. And now we're helping that community too. But with growth,
You're not gonna call them out?
but with that growth, we need to also not necessarily step back, but we need to stop for a second and look at what we need to sustain. Because we have burnout, because of all those things, we cannot grow too quickly. So it's all about self-sustained growth internally right now for Shelter House, making sure that we have the right infrastructure in place, making sure that we have the right supports for our staff, to make sure that we have the right systems in place from a financial standpoint and from an HR standpoint. So my ask, really would be, we are living, decades behind, I believe, when it comes down to administrative costs. As I mentioned before, it is costing organizations a lot more to run than it ever has in the past.
Yeah.
So working off of a 15% administrative allowance right now through our contracts, I believe, given inflation, given what it is taking to do to get the job done, we need to increase that.
Understood.
So that would be my number one thing. Would be that cost of doing business.
So I totally get that. We've had numerous conversations concerning that. So now I'm going to transition this a little bit, pivot this a little bit. How do community partners help Shelter House achieve further housing solutions to end the homelessness and to end the domestic violence for our neighbors, for our residents, for all? Because you said something, 50% go back. 1% is 1% too many, right? Yeah. So how do we get to a place where it's zero?
Yeah. Well, first you said about partnerships. We in our mission are very intentional, and that is about building effective relationships with and engaging the communities. That includes the people we serve, that includes our volunteers, that includes our staff, that includes our county partnerships, and includes our nonprofit partnerships. We have created such a strong partnership in Fairfax County among the nonprofits to prevent and end homelessness. I mean, it was truly called the Partnership to Prevent and End Homelessness for that 10 years that we were working on that plan. And we are all working off of kind of the same note, right? Like what we do here at Shelter House, another nonprofit that is running a shelter is doing the exact same thing. We're all held to the same standards,
Right.
And we all partner together. And I think that's one of the strengths that we have here in Fairfax, is the partnership of nonprofits, but it's also the support of Fairfax County government. We could not do nearly half of what we do without the funding that comes through Fairfax County. And the emphasis, I mean, a lot of pass-through dollars come from federal dollars and things like that, but the emphasis to put it to human services and specifically to homelessness is something that other jurisdictions aren't doing.
Okay. So on the horizon for Shelter House, what do you see on the horizon?
We are looking to truly impact as many communities as we possibly can. We are looking to make a bigger footprint here in Fairfax County to see what else we can do. What are the needs that Fairfax County has when it comes to ending homelessness and ending domestic violence? And Fairfax County, again, has done a great job of kind of providing those opportunities to a nonprofit like Shelter House, and putting out when funding is available, making sure that we jump on that funding and saying, hey, here's an opportunity, who wants to do it? It is about looking at opportunity to meet the need that we have in this community, but also other communities.
Well, it's a growing need, Joe, and you guys do a great job. So I'm going to give you the the floor right now, because we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. Is there anything that we may have missed that Joe Meyer wants our residents and our community to know about either you or Shelter House, your 3 boys, baseball schedule, you name it?
Well, I'm very blessed with my 3 boys who are growing up fast.
Yes, they are.
And really enjoy them. But I really truly I try to ingrain what I do at work with my family also.
Yeah.
They know I work for Shelter House. They know that we help people that need housing. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure, even the teams that I coach. Not that I promote anything from a donation standpoint or anything like that, but people have to understand the need that we have in this community. And I think that's lost sometimes when we're working in communities like in Northern Virginia of the actual need. You can look at the census of Fairfax County and then how many people we have experiencing homelessness. You're like, it's only a couple percent. Well, you know what? That means it's doable to end this thing.
Right.
We need more community support. We need more businesses to step forward. We need a champion from a business standpoint that says we are going to do this in partnership with Fairfax County, in partnership with the nonprofits, individuals that come forward. We also just need to make sure that people are aware that we have people experiencing homelessness in Fairfax County, and we also have a lot of people who are experiencing domestic violence, trying to get out of the situations that they're in, recognizing the signs, coming forward, and making sure that we're just identifying when there's a need in this community. There are opportunities to reach out. I don't know how many times I hear, this is the first time I heard about Shelter House. Yeah. And I will say, I hope if there's one thing that this podcast does is for people to understand that there are organizations like Shelter House all over this county that you just need to reach out and get answers. Yeah. Call us. Our numbers are on there. Somebody will answer the phone, and somebody will make sure that you get pointed in the right direction for help.
Joe, when I started thinking about doing podcasts, it was basically surrounding myself with the strategic plan and vulnerability, people that are in vulnerable spaces, which is one of our 10 strategic plan initiatives, but it's also effective government. And what you bring to the table, as far as I'm concerned, from the first day I met you, is a sense of reasonableness and the ability to get it done. And that's one of the reasons why, athlete to athlete, we kind of connected and bonded. And I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. And that's going to do it for this episode with Connect with County Leaders. My thanks to Joe Meyer, Executive Director and CEO. Also, my friend, Joe Meyer, and Executive Director and CEO of Shelter House. And thank you for joining me today. Joe, I really appreciate this opportunity. We're going to do more.
Absolutely.
And I hope that you all will come back and watch another episode of Connect with County Leaders. Thank you.